Hollywood, come really wish they what they were. There's no debating, all that's left is the Nailsin Reagan. The flies will feast on the corpse of the beast. Only after the fill of the vulture, pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture. Myths and legends, grant an escape to heaven. A darker, taller tale gives a tour of hell. Pop goes the culture, pop, pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture. Hollywood, come really wish they what they were. There's no debating, all that's left is the Nailsin Reagan. The flies will feast on the corpse of the beast. Only after the fill of the vulture, pop goes the culture. Pop, 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 pop goes the culture. Myths and legends, grant an escape to heaven. A darker, taller
I never will. Whatever. I'm doing this completely without OBS this time just to see, and still there's problems. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, gonna talk about the usual when it comes to mostly movies and stuff. DC and Marvel, some Star Trek, poor Doctor Who. We'll probably end it on that. Yeah, that's what I got. But mostly I just wanted to see how this would work. And so far, pretty bad, but whatever. All right. So we'll get to it. So this is a story I saw over the weekend, and it seems likely due to certain realities here. Still just a rumor in spite of recent events. But James Gunn out at DC with Warner Brothers sell. Could be. Looking all smug there, but Well, with Superman reportedly bombing financially, and it did. And with Peacemaker season number 2 taking a number 2 with fans, Matt McCloin reached out to his insiders on the state of DCU under James Gunn. The short of that is James Gunn will be out as the head of DCU with the WBD sell. Matt was told if David Ellison of Skydance Paramount buys WBD, that Mike DeLuca will be in charge of DC and do a completely new start. Gunn recently said he's doing whatever he wants with DC. Matt thought that sounded odd because if you're building a new universe, you want it to be successful with the fans. But, well, that's not happening as both Creature Commandos and Peacemaker failed to chart on Nielsen. No relation. It's spelled differently, too. They don't have a big audience, and Guns really claims that Peacemaker Season number 2 was meant to be a sequel to his Superman movie was pure BS. Well, why say it at all? I mean, tune into Peacemaker after Superman. You don't want to get lost, and you show up and you get this orgy. Superman also failed to resonate with international fans. Its box office also came in under Zack Snyder's Man of Steel by a large margin. Gunn's approach to the DCU has been all about divisive messaging. It's splitting the fan base. Well, mostly the Superman movies is cluttered. There's more messaging in Peacemaker Season 2 than there is in Superman, but yeah. I am of the opinion, meaning Matt McCloin, that Gunn is doing whatever he wants with DC because his days are numbered and he knows it. And this is a good possibility. So he's getting himself, all his friends, and his wife big paychecks before WBD sells. That means when a sale goes through, James Gunn is out. Yeah, look, if Superman had made $1 billion, he's in. Even with Peacemaker being as bad as it was. He'd probably still have a shot. So Matt reached out to his Hollywood insiders, and here's what they said. Recently, saw the big news that Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi re-signed with Warner Brothers in Deadline's report. They basically said it's because of the sale of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Ellison is looking to purchase WBD. So WBD CEO David Zaslav is putting people in place that Ellison wants. That means Ellison wants DeLuca and Abdi in charge of Warner Brothers films. Well, DeLuca and Abdi, and they were kind of in trouble for a bit, but their productions have righted the ship. They've had some winners here. Weapons, they take credit for, and Sinners and stuff like that. So, they're doing good. Gunn, well. So you'll notice that Gunn has pivoted from his planned Gods and Monsters storyline into what he calls his Superman family saga. So it'll just be this package deal of James Gunn's Superman. Because after Supergirl, it's probably, or Man of Tomorrow, I'm guessing he'll still be able to do that before it's all said and done. And that's it. So it's Superman, Supergirl, Man of Tomorrow, the end. Lanterns and Peacemaker, well, a little extra. That's about it. Yeah. So the Gods and Monsters storyline is likely ditched because Gunn knows he can only get a select amount of movies out before the sale. Yeah, remember it was supposed to be a 10-year plan. Well, Matt McCloin's also been told that the reason why DCU projects have been stalling is because of Gunn's interference. The filmmakers want their own vision and not Gunn's. I'm told that most visionary directors in Hollywood are staying away from not only DC, but Marvel and Star Wars. Because life is too short and everyone is looking for original properties. Matt was told Zack Snyder is happy doing his original stuff, but only in return to DC for one last movie, an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns. Now, I totally believe that because, well, he's mentioned it himself. And really, the only interest in comic books that Zack Snyder has is Watchmen, which he did, and Dark Knight Returns. Way back when he did Watchmen, he said he really wanted to do Dark Knight Returns. Well, the opportunity didn't come up, so he utilized Dark Knight Returns elements in Batman versus Superman. Total scenes were in there from it. And because he probably felt, well, probably never going to get another shot at this. And, there's the deal. So this idea of a standalone thing, if they brought him back just for that, yeah, possibly. But this whole idea of him coming back and reviving the Snyderverse and all that after all this time, because a lot of years have gone by, I don't think you're getting Affleck back to do his Batman. And the idea that he would do a Batman trilogy along with a Henry Cavill Superman trilogy and then the 3 Justice League films, I don't think so. Maybe some animated thing. But, the clock ran out. That last opportunity, which even that I wasn't sure, but Abdi and DeLuca, yes, they had Cavill and Affleck back. And then all that changed. So McClellan continues, told that if Warner Brothers gets sold, it will be. That whoever buys it wants a completely new star. Yes. While it has been reported that Skydance is eyeing to purchase WBD, he's told Universal Comcast is still in the mix and knows they've been eyeing WBD for years. He's told that if Ellison buys Warner Brothers Discovery, is that James Gunn will be out. David Ellison's father, billionaire David Ellison, is close to President Donald Trump. So Peacemaker isn't getting a season 3, more than likely. And Gunn lied about a family-friendly approach to DC. Matt was told that actually nobody in the building knows his status except for Gunn himself, but his action speaks as to what might happen. It is of some interest that before the final episode of Peacemaker aired is James Gunn's wife, who plays Amelia Harcourt in it, posted on Instagram, says, well, that's a wrap, and probably there's something of that nature that this is probably the last time I'll play Amelia. So people took it to mean, maybe the character dies in the final episode. Well, spoiler, she doesn't. So maybe this is in reference of, she's married to the guy, and he's saying, well, I'm going to do as much as I can with this property, but it's pretty much over after the sale goes through. So, because, Superman didn't work. So anyway, it's obvious, and Gunn said it himself, he's doing whatever he wants with DC. It's because with the sale, his DCU will be dead. Back to David Ellison, Matt's told Mike DeLuca will take over DC. Recall how Matt's insiders told him about the real ending of The Flash, which is something Gunn completely changed. DeLuca wanted to bring back Zack Snyder's DCEU, which would have been in part led to the return of Henry Cavill as Superman and the return of Ben Affleck as Batman, with a Batman multiverse happening. That all got scrapped when Gunn took over the DCU. But Matt, and I agree with him here, is of the opinion that Gunn knew about the eventual sale of WBD and that Zaslav handed him over the reins and gave him the ability to do whatever he wants for the sale. They just want DC content out there to make the sale of WBD look better. Yeah, but you still needed to have some reins on Gunn to not do stupid stuff, which he did with Peacemaker. And so, yeah, you want DC to look good as you can. You try to polish that up for the sale, and the new owners want to do something else, whatever. But when you damage it, they might just, because I'm guessing really there isn't going to be a DC shared universe after this. I think it's just going to be Batman movies. Yeah. So back to the Luke in DC. He was told that he won't be bringing back the Snyderverse as everyone has moved on. Yeah, I think so. It's too bad. I would have liked to have seen a continuation of the Justice League story and to at least see Cavill play Superman at least one more time. But it ain't happening. He'll be starting a new DUI universe under David Ellison and Skydance. And it's my guess we'll bring back Truth, Justice, and the American Way. We also know Gunn's history with conservatives, which also likely explains Gunn's DCU agenda. He's just tossing it all out there before. Yeah, it is sort of slapped in and thrown around. So not sure why Blade is here. But anyway, Mike DeLuca discovered David S. Goyer is known for Blade, Man of Steel, and of course, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Mike also brought in Sinners and Weapons and oversaw the Conjuring franchise. Also add in Minecraft. Well, there you go. See, that's how he got his stat. Him and Abdi are pretty well safe and locked in. Until they bomb and something else. But for now, they're doing better than Gunn is. The insider says he knows cinema, history, and global movements and is a die-hard comic book fan. Well, I've heard that so many times, but, we'll see. It's just a shame that it's just all wasted, and especially for David Cornsweet. Same thing with Henry Cavill and even Brandon Routh. Those guys could play a good Superman. All three of them could. They just didn't get the material to do it with. They got scenes here and there, bits and pieces. Some got better than others, but in the end, they were let down by the material they were given. Don't blame any of them for the failures of their iterations of Superman. It's just sad, but what are you going to do? So I guess if the sale goes through, that's it for James Gunn, huh? Well, the offer was made and Zaslav rejected it. But this is all the gamesmanship, and he wants the best price possible that he thinks he can get. So that's how that's played. So Warner Brothers Discovery has rebuffed Paramount Skydance's opening takeover approach, rejecting the offer of about $20 per share as too low. The move makes perfect sense given what we already know. Zaslav has been pushing the company's stock higher, currently at $17.10 in advance of any sale, and he's unlikely to accept a fire sale price. As Deadline previously noted, the so-called shadow offer chatter had already bumped WBD's shares toward 20. The idea is clear. Any suitor has to pay up to play. So, he says, hey, Warner's is sexier than that. So rejecting the $20 a share bid aligns with Zaslav's strategy from the start. He wants the full value he believes in Warner Brothers Discovery's assets, especially the studio's DC and streaming divisions. Not a cut-rate deal. Zaslav has maneuvered over months to isolate the parts he intends to sell and strip away the risk. So the buyer pays for upside, not debt, confusion, or legacy liabilities. By doing so, he risks scaring off potential buyers who do not want to go too deep. Netflix, for instance, has expressed skepticism about absorbing WBD's linear network's licensing burdens and massive debt. But still ultimately this doesn't work out. He's going to have to carve out stuff so Netflix could come in and buy this or that, maybe. But so far, he's playing the game. But anyway, sources tell Bloomberg that Skydance Paramount is weighing its options, increasing its bid, pushing directly to Warner Brothers shareholders, or bringing in financial partners, rumors report to Apollo Global Management, to sweeten the offer. What? Unless they meet Zaslav's expected price. Warner's leadership may hold firm. So yeah, he's got to break through that some kind of way. Of course, at the moment, he could start buying up the stock directly, So, Ellison. I don't know. We'll see. It's unclear whether those informal pitch discussions have matured or if Paramount is just posturing. But rejecting the first bid is a signal. This won't be a cheap guy in a truck sale. Yeah. You're probably going to see more of Batman than Superman. Probably only Batman. But, well. So anyway, what does it mean for the sale rate? What raises the floor? Any next bid has to clear more than $20. Expect negotiation to start in the $25 to $30 range or higher. I'm going with higher. Buyers unwilling to go deep or swallow debt may drop out. Yeah, it does shrink it down. So Zaslav has leverage. The planned split of WBD into studio streaming versus networks gives Zaslav optionality. He can sell parts separately if full bids don't hit his mark. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he's still got that in his pocket. Plus, they're splitting the company anyway, which brings me back to the questions about Netflix worrying about, the debt. The debt's all in the network and everything. So they could skip all that and just buy the streaming properties and buy the IP. That's mostly what they would want. You get DC, you get Harry Potter, you get film rights, at least, to Lord of the Rings. They still got that. and whatever else they got. There's a whole lot of stuff at Warner Brothers. They can get all that and just forget about, TNT, CNN, all that stuff. Goodbye. And I mean, originally the thought was Zaslav would just go back with Discovery, because Discovery, at least at the time, for itself, was a successful streaming service. I don't know about after all this, but yeah, he could land there. Plus, he would have stake in whatever company is formed out of this, more than likely. But as far as being CEO of anything, well, no. So there you go. That's the DCU story and Warner Brothers story overall. But more than likely, yeah, this is probably going to be over. Because all along, Superman needed to not just be a good movie, it was just sort of okay. But all along, and this isn't really on James Gunn, but he really stumbled here. And he was just never the guy for it. But Superman had to be a great Superman movie for the position they were in, which they already were long before James Gunn came on board. So it was pretty tough to do anyway, but there was a lot of obvious things. He cluttered that film up. Look, I liked Guy Gardner. I liked Mr. Terrific in it, but you could have saved money by shrinking the cast down to just the Superman cast, and your basic plot could have played out pretty much as it did. It was just too cluttered, and you needed to get back to proper Superman. You got to have truth, justice, and the American way. You got to have that in there. And David Corn Sweat could have knocked it out of the park, but just another wasted opportunity. How many chances does the movie going audience are going to give to Superman? You've been burned quite a bit. It's damaging the brand, no matter how old and iconic it is. But, if somebody out there has got a great Superman idea for a film, I suppose he could soar back into good shape. But, man, all this money, what a waste, It's just all sad, I mean, Zaslav could still win on this, but these two, I don't know. I mean, Gunn put himself out more in front than Peter Safran did, so. Hey, you're going to have to take the lumps, Gunn. I'm afraid so. Yeah. But in the end, when it comes to that sort of thing, well, he's no one to blame but himself, Nobody made you put the, bisexual orgy in Peacemaker. No one made you put bigoted scenes about Christianity in there. That sort of thing. Plus, it seems like you were really lazy about that show as well. There wasn't a whole lot to it. I don't know. Probably a bad idea to do Peacemaker and Superman at the same time. But, well, plus, he should have looked for somebody who could do Superman. It wasn't you. There's some properties he'd be fine for. See, out of all this, I thought, maybe he'll get to be the director of Lobo. That's a character he could do. And he could go balls to the wall in outer space with Lobo. But, oh well. It's too bad. Too bad indeed. But maybe people will learn from this, No, they won't. I mean, you'd think they would have by now, but I don't know what to do. What do you do? Well, yeah, I do know what to do, but it's not going to happen. Supergirl will be like Guardians, says James Gunn. Well, that's a mistake. You mean in outer space? If that's all he means, then yeah, okay. Okay, but it means it's going to be an ensemble, you know, like he did with Superman. He doesn't know how to do a one character movie, apparently. I don't know. Hey, that jacket kind of looks like the designs on the Superman suit. Huh. James Gunn once promised every DCU movie would be different, but it's quickly becoming clear that everything is just rinse and repeat. Another version of his Guardians of the Galaxy movies, that mob. Gunn has been facing criticism for his approach to DCU, where it seems he doesn't care what the fans think and it's all about himself. One of the criticisms has been that so far, every DCU project, all from Gunn, has been the same, which includes Creature Commandos. It's a team. Superman has Superman guest starring in a Justice Gang movie. And Peacemaker, which, of course, is Peacemaker and his team. So, see? Just, he doesn't know how to do a lead character, apparently. It's all basically been the same story. Throw in a ragtag group of characters, add in goofiness, throw in songs. Oh, jeez, those damn songs, and have them face an enemy. That's been Gunn's approach to everything, and many fans feel it's getting old fast. That's why he shouldn't have been in charge of all of it. Now, in an interview with Rolling Stone about the Peacemaker season number 2 finale, which has been facing criticisms. Oh, yeah, it's the lowest rated episode on IMDb. Gunn is questioned about the direction of his DCU. Rolling Stone actually points out that Gunn's DCU is a take on present day politics and social issues. Yeah. You've made a key part of the DCU going forward about a government official abusing their power by having masked thugs come in the middle of the night and expel innocent people from the planet. Yeah. The article says that Gunn grins with his answer, which sounds like sarcasm. It's just totally fiction, Brian. Yeah, that opening. Yeah. That's what that is. This is like something we can never have happen on our planet, but that's the beauty of things like comic books. You can explore things that would never ever happen on our world. Oh, he's big silly. Yeah. Superman keeps his phone in his belt. Gunn is asked about an escalating war storyline happening in the DCU and is asked if we'll be seeing it in Supergirl and Lanterns. Parts of it, but it'll never conclude. And whether or not the war storyline is Gunn's story or part of a larger story. Gunn responds with the mention of comparing Supergirl to Guardians. Note, it has been said Gunn was on set directing scenes. Oh, no. Well, look, I can understand an overseer say, hey, it's got to all be connected, so you can't just suddenly kill off Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl or something like that because he's going to be in the next Superman movie, that kind of thing. But beyond that, whatever. So Gunn says, no, both things are worked in. We knew both of those stories were a part of what we originally put together, so they're part of the overall tapestry, but they're also their own thing. Supergirl, especially, is a space adventure. It's like Guardians. Lanterns is its own thing. There's just a longer, sort of a bigger world we're building with all these different pieces, and they do all come together and intersect sometimes in a story fashion and sometimes just in a, here's another piece of the world fashion. All right. As pissed off as I am at the results, especially Peacemaker, if I was still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, it's like Guardians. It's like he's saying it's a space adventure. It's like Guardians, which is a space adventure. So maybe that's all there is. I mean, I've read the comic book, despite the fact that I can't stand Tom King. This is the least worst of his stories because he ripped off True Grit, basically. But nevertheless, it's not as bad as some of the others. So you could do an okay movie with that. It would have been better if they had just adapted a classic Superman story for the movie. No, Gunn knows better. He does he? So Gunn also adds that there are bigger story arcs, particularly for Lanterns. Insiders have actually filled us in that Lantern starts off grounded, but gets into heavy sci-fi and is really good. Well, that's the thing. What if it is? I doubt it, because Damon Lindelof and Tom King are the head writers on that thing. There is that Monday guy from Ozark as the showrunner, so maybe he has more say-so in how this unfolds. But with this seemingly coming all to an end, because the news on DCU looks really bad, Lanterns might actually be great. And then it goes nowhere. But who knows? Maybe, the new owners coming. That Lantern show? Let's keep that. Everything else goes. Yeah, I don't know. Regarding Gunn's comments, they only add to growing concerns that the DCU lacks creative variety and relies too heavily on the same formula he's used for years. Fans who expected each project to have its own tone and direction are instead seeing a shared style, one that's beginning to wear thin. Okay, here's the list. Yeah. Suicide Squad, goofy. Peacemaker, I like Suicide Squad. That's probably the best he's done. Creature Commandos had more moments. It was better than Peacemaker season 2. But I don't know. Superman, goofy. Supergirl, goofy. Clayface is goofy. I thought it was supposed to be a horror movie. See, if he's hands off with that, it seems like they just wanted to make it cheap. So it'll be, but I don't know. I don't know what the question was. Oh, well, Man of Tomorrow will probably be, Superman will do a dance off with Brainiac. Something like that. So, but there you are. Lanterns, who knows? It might turn out to be really cool. But there's the thing. There are certain projects I think he would be fine for. Superman was not one of them. I thought he should have been a guy with his experience, could have an eye for talent and get the guy to do it. Supposedly Muschietti was supposed to do the Batman film. That's still up in the air and all that. And at this point may never come to fruition, because I don't think the DCU is going to survive the merger wherever Warner Brothers ends up and that sort of thing. But if only he had been able to do that. I mean, granted, he's the captain of the ship, so their first film was to be Superman. So, all right, I'm going to do this, but nobody could tell him no, which is not the lesson you learn from the Zack Snyder experience. Zack Snyder, they came in, he had his script, his vision, his idea, and presented that to Warner Brothers, a lot of which they liked and said, yeah, do that. However, by his own commentary on this, there were some things he wanted to do, and they immediately said, no, you can't do that. So, all right, we'll take that out. Okay, fine. You've agreed on the script. That's the movie you're going to do. And he went for it. So by the time you get to Justice League, what do? At the 11th hour, they say, no, scrap that. We want you to cut it way down, and we want you to make it a Marvel movie. The movie is shot. You can edit it down, which is what he was doing before he left. But yeah, it would be interesting to see that shorter cut, But nevertheless, that's the mistake. There's a time where, yes, the studio has every right to have a hand in this. It's their property. And it's like, you can do this, you can do that. No, you're not doing that. In those early stages, the script, your main guidepost about how the hell you're going to film this. And then that's it. At a certain point, too late is too late. That was the lesson there, as far as studio interfering with the director and all that. Direction and style, you should have sussed that out too. Maybe Snyder wasn't the guy, but, nevertheless, that's the lesson for the most part for the operations of studio and director. Here, do whatever you want, Gunn. And just, well, if you don't deliver, you're out. Well, yeah, but now you've damaged your brand. So that's too bad for, you know, Corn Sweat and probably poor Millie Alcock. She was good in House of the Dragon, so she's probably just as capable as Corn Sweat was for Superman. But is she going to get to play Supergirl? It doesn't look like it. Maybe, but it's a big maybe at this point. And it's just sad. Waste of money and a waste of time. All righty. Oh, I suppose I should have had myself on there saying, and that's commentary from Mr Nailsin. There, see? A. Thompson says, I'm number one. Number one what? Audio good? Yeah, it should be. I mean, I'm not using OBS, so I'll see it. Well, it a lot of ways, yes. Boy, it really captures the shine and body of my hair. But the virtual background, that you see that little green glow. So I tried to say in front of the green, but it's not the same green. And then the mic disappears into my coat. Oh, I'm glowing like Green Lantern. What are you gonna do? A. Thompson, sadly, only gimmicks keep me in my seat at Disney movies. Yeah, like IMAX. That's the only way to see Tron because there ain't nothing else to it. And by Tron, I mean Tron Ares. The other two movies, certainly the first one, is a masterpiece, a groundbreaking film. So many movies owe a lot to it. It didn't do well at the time, but still. The second one, The third one, I don't know. Anyway, and I'm not even going to blame Jared Leto. A lot of people do because they don't like him, but it could have been anybody. It wouldn't have mattered. Anyway, I already know I need to see this Tron in IMAX, laser 3D, GLS, atmosphere, digital. It's more of a showcase of movie technical quality. Yes, that's what it'll be. And I'm betting the same thing for Avatar, 3 that they'll have. And Disney's banking on that to pull them out of the rut. And it probably will. But I won't see it because I can't stand Avatar. It's like those 8K TVs playing the sample video in the store. I can stand there and watch those for hours. Well, yeah. I mean, I've looked at them, but not for hours. But I don't know. You do you. That's what you like to do. Me, I need a story. So, one more little DC thing, I think. Is there? Nope. We'll move on to Star Trek after that. What am I doing? I don't need that. I need this. All right. Other possibilities for the results of a merger. DC Comics Woke Fest toast with Paramount purchase of WBD. They toasted? Why would they toast? Oh, you mean they'll be toast? Well, all right. Yeah, possibly if Paramount wins this out with Ellison in charge. So with the Trump-backed... Look, I know that the guy's dad is good with Trump, but... But I take the point, but still a purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery currently in the mix. The woke DC Comics era could be over. Will there even be a DC Comics era? I don't know. Fans have long criticized DC's direction in recent years for pushing identity politics, and the rumored Skydance deal could bring a course correction from the comics to the big screen. We've already been told that James Gunn will be out as head of DC Studios, and we expect the impact will be felt all the way down to DC Comics. Their lips disappeared. They flattened into one head. Woke DC replaced Clark Kent with his son John Kent and revealed him as gay and bisexual. Yeah, well, when they make a character bisexual, it means they're gay. They're never getting a girlfriend again. So in the series Superman, Son of Kal-El, the move made national headlines. Did it, but not for the reasons DC hoped. Fans accused the publisher of chasing headlines instead of telling good stories. Really? Yeah, that's what they did. The title saw declining sales and was eventually canceled after just 18 issues. See, he's hanging out with his boyfriend and they're protesting for climate justice, but there's this giant, Lovecraftian monster attacking the city. But he's too busy doing this, The push for identity-driven stories extended across DC from race and gender-swapped characters to social justice plots, alienating parts of the core fan base. Critics said DC had turned away from its roots, replacing timeless heroism with divisive politics. In September, DC canceled the Red Hood comic by Gretchen Felker Martin, a trans writer who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. The series was pulled just one day after its debut, with DC issuing credits to retailers. Yeah, and this is before anyone took them over, so, But while official statements cited public comments inconsistent with DC's standards of conduct, THR's reporting said the decision came directly from Warner Brothers executives, not DC Comics editorial. That distinction matters. It shows that WB leadership, not DC itself, stepped in to halt the project, possibly signaling a new direction from the top. Donald Trump is already keeping an eye on changes under the Ellis's control via deadline. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One late Sunday, Trump asked them, "So who's going to be the head anchor of CBS?" He paused for a second and said, "Not Nora O'Donnell. I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Then Trump added, "Larry Ellison is great, and his son David is great. They're friends of mine. They're big supporters of mine, and they'll do the right thing. They'll make CBS. They called it the Tiffany Network, and it's got great potential. CBS has great potential." So, boy, they're really determined to take the, So Trump comments follow Skydance merger with Paramount and CBS. David Ellison has installed Barry Weiss, founder of the Free Press, as editor-in-chief of CBS News, a vocal critic of the woke left. That alone signals that what's coming. A broad move to depoliticize corporate media under Ellison's leadership. And cross your fingers, DC Comics could be next. They're going to cast Trump as Superman? If Paramount Skydance complete the WBD purchase, we expect the Ellisons to purge the woke influence from DC Comics, which includes returning Superman to Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Under Gunn, American Way was dropped in favor of the Human Way. Gunn also attacks conservatives and his DC content equating nasties with people who love Jesus and stating a nasty world is no different than our own. Well, what does that say about you, Gunn? If the Paramount WBD merger happens, here's what that could mean for DC. Well, end of progressive storylines, focus on classic heroism, stricter oversight, new creators, rebranding of DC's image. In short, Trump's allies are poised to make DC Comics great again. Literally. Cancellation of Red Hood by WB Brass may have been the first sign. The Paramount deal could make it official. As Trump said himself, Larry Ellison and David Ellison will do the right thing. That might just mean the end of DC's woke era and the return of Superman's Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Well, yeah, maybe, but it's not just, Trump and all this stuff. Everybody's broke because that's, the wages of woke. So now you got to go out and try to get people to, part with their money to buy your stuff. So one way or another, you're going to have to abandon this stuff. That's the way it goes. Or no more comic books. The choice, of course, is yours. But what do I know? I just spend my money on comic books. But not so much lately, and especially following Daniel Warren Johnson's little picture of Batman murdering an ICE agent, and then Scott Snyder signing off on it. You know, the best in comic books right now, and this is true overall, story-wise and everything, are the independent comics. The likes of Mark Miller and Jeff Johns, his Ghost Machine comics. Those are great. Conan the Barbarian over at Titan. Check those out. And I don't know. There's no hope for Marvel whatsoever. Could somebody take over DC and turn it around? Yeah, but it's probably already too late. Well, time will tell. Let me get rid of that. Goodbye. Doug, believe it or not, that movie F1 is not a bad movie. It's beautiful. Well, I've heard great things about it. Yes, yeah. It's beautiful. I don't know how they will release that for home viewing. They'll release it for home viewing. That's usually how they do that. Giggle, giggle, tee hee, giggle, giggle. There's plenty of movies that were shot for IMAX. If the story's good and everything, it'll be fine. It's just, you know, for the roller coaster ride, yeah, you should see it in IMAX. But I don't go to movies for roller coaster rides. I go to movies, you know, to watch a movie. That's just what I do. I know, it's weird, but, you know, that's me. Star Trek. Starfleet Academy trailer drops. Stephen Colbert joins. Yeah, well, this thing was over from the get-go. Who the hell wants to watch Saved by the Bell in space? Well, actually, that might actually be a better show. You know, or 90210 in space. Some crap like that. The whole idea of a Starfleet Academy is something they've been chasing forever for Star Trek. There was going to be a movie at some point because they were going to recast Kirk and Spock and have them be, you know, kids in school together and crap like that. I never had any interest in it. But whatever. PP revealed the official trailer for Star Trek Starfleet Academy during the Star Trek Universe panel at New York Comic Con, confirming a January 15th premiere. The series will debut with 2 episodes. That's it? Oh, well, followed by weekly releases every Thursday through March 12th. That's too many episodes of crap. Stephen Colbert announced he'll lend his voice to the digital dean of students. So he'll be Mr. Belding. I thought Robert Picardo would be the Mr. Belding of the series. Yeah. All right, whatever. Starfleet Academy follows a group of young cadets striving to become Starfleet officers under the guidance of demanding instructors. In between giving them nap time and milk and cookies, the story explores their friendships, rivalries, and first loves as they face a threat that endangers both the Academy and the Federation. Well, the cast includes Holly Hunter. Holly, what did you do to end up here? You know, as the Chancellor of Starfleet Academy. Sandro Rusta, Kareem Diane, I guess, Karis Brooks, George Hawkins, and Bella Shepard as cadets. Zoe Steiner, Tig Notaro, Robert Picardo. Guest stars Oded Fair, Mary Weissman, Gina Yashir, and Paul Giamatti. You know, they're making Paul Giamatti to be the big villain of the series, but he's just a guest star. So what did he do? A couple of days' work, and they'll spread out his scenes over the series. That's probably the deal. yeah, that character. The series is co-show run by Alex Kurtzman. Oh, could there be a Star Trek without Alex? Yes, you would have one. But for the past 10 years, you haven't. And Noga Landau, with Kurtzman directing the... oh, God. Well, of course, I can't think of anyone better to direct a Starfleet Academy episode. So executive producers include Gaia Vialo, Aaron Bears, Jenny Lumet, Rod Roddenberry, Trevor Robick. Good Lord. So these are the guys getting paid out, huh? Produced by CBS Studios, Starfleet Academy continues the expansion of Star Trek storytelling under Kurtzman's direction. So the Star Trek lineup on PP includes Star Trek Section 31. Oh boy, did you see that? I did. Don't bother. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Season 3 now streaming. Yeah, don't bother. Star Trek Lower Decks, Star Trek Discovery, and Star Trek Picard. Yeah. Well, fans can explore campus life. Oh boy, classes. Oh man, and characters. Really, they got those too at starfleetacademy.com. Oh boy, head over there where enrollment is now open for exclusive updates. Well, you don't want to miss out on those. So you can be one of the cool kids hanging out with them, as they walk down the hall together at once. Yeah. So there you go. Oh boy, you can't wait to be there on the first day of school for Star Trek Academy. I apologize. I'm trying to contain my excitement. And I'm really embarrassed how excited I got over this. I saw the first trailer. I don't even think I saw this one. Yeah. So I'm unfair. This is another one when the Ellisons are in full charge. So they're just dumping this out and then kicking Kurtzman out. So boy, do they have a Mount Everest-sized hill to climb to restore Star Trek. But out of all these failed franchises, Star Trek, narratively speaking, is the easiest one to solve. You just ignore everything else. You set up a ship. You get a guy to craft together a good cast of characters, and they're on a mission in deep space. There you go. That's all you got to do. Then you got to have some sci-fi oriented writers. I don't care what skin color they are. I don't care where they do or don't park their junk. They just got to have some experience in that to pursue sci-fi concept, which has been absent from Star Trek these many years. So that's all you got to do. And then the rest of this is, if you really have to have it, it's another timeline. So it happened over there, somewhere in that other universe. But we're getting back to the real one. Doesn't have to be connected to Next Generation, all that. That's all in the past. Set it ahead. Set it beyond that timeline. They had the runs. You can make mention of it. It's perfect. Like the Academy had something, the Kirk Hall or something like that. Yeah, you can make mention of things like that. But for the most part, no more attachments to beyond that. You're on your own. If you got the goods, you should be able to do it. So far, nobody has. So there you go. Star Trek. Oh, what fun it could have been. Oh, well, but something happened along the way, Something happened along the way. Well, speaking of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds beams into New York City Comic-Con with Season 4 first look. Well, I wasn't there, so I didn't see it. But I guess McCloyne did. PP brought Star Trek Familiar Old Worlds to New York Comic-Con with the debut of an exclusive look at Season 4 and a behind-the-scenes featurette on the show's elaborate costume work for Season 3. Elaborate. He's wearing the same thing he always did. I don't know. So did he. What? They mean those people from the weird pan-dimensional world? I don't know. Oh, the 70s outfits, maybe? So anyway, the Star Trek panel featured stars Ethan Peck, Celia Rose Gooding, Melissa Navia, and Martin Quinn, along with co-showrunners Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonso Myers, and executive producer Alex Kurtzman. Moderator Josh Horowitz led the discussion, which included details about production and what fans can expect from the next chapter of the series. Season 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds wrapped production earlier this year, with the 5th and final season currently in production. The upcoming season continues following Captain Christopher Pike and the crew of the USS Enterprise through a mix of action, sometimes hardly ever, emotion, oh good lord, bucket loads of that, some of which you don't even understand why, and exploration. Now, there's rarely any exploration at all. Hardly at all. They kind of pose like they're exploring something, but then they start crying about feelings and being in love with one another or something like that. So they can never really get to the point. Anyway, the new episodes will feature internal, of course, and external conflicts, new and returning characters, and encounters with dangerous alien species as the crew strives toward a hopeful future. Now, the alien species could literally be the xenomorphs. I mean, they call them Gorn in here, but they're the xenomorphs. Even though that sad story where Ortega developed a friendship with a Gorn, especially when she found out it was a female Gorn. But anyway, but yeah, so these other species they might meet, I wonder what aliens they'll rip off. I wonder if they'll find like a creature that lives in the ground and digests people for thousands of years. Maybe something like that. Maybe there'll be a little lost alien who just wants to get home and something like that, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. This is what the cast, the producers, good Lord, they have an army of executive producers they got to pay off. Yeah. So anyway, all 3 seasons of Star Trek Familiar Old Worlds are available to stream on PP. The franchise lineup includes all the other crap. Well, there's a first look clip. So I guess I'll check that out. I'm probably going to forget to, though. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Look, I might watch Familiar Old Worlds. I've come this far, but Academy, it's, it's all coming to an end, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. There are some things you could have done, you know? I mean, of all this stuff about a prequel for Star Trek, a Captain Pike series was the one thing that I would have been interested in. And Anson Mount probably could have done an okay Pike. But he's another guy who never got the opportunity to do it. Even within this, and I was about to say they could have gone into the alternate timeline thing and that he's haunted by his potential future, but only to discover that that's not the same Pike, that's not his future, that's another Pike. And they could have done it like that. They've already revealed they're an alternate timeline. They did. The episode Tomorrow. For what it was, it at least did that. And that's another one where I didn't really like the Lady Khan girl at first. She grew on me. She's a good actress. And but that's just the sad thing. Anyone with talent and stuff, when it comes to actors for these shows, it's sad to watch them get wasted. Because, all right, it's a job and you can hopefully move on to the next one. But these are years you're never getting back, you know? So, in the end, it's all so sad. All right, that's it for Star Trek. What's this next story? Oh, I don't know. I guess I'll do the rundown on this, but basically it's just Marvel showing what they got coming for you at the Comic-Con. So, you know, there's something. Marvel reveals massive 2026 lineup at the New York City Comic Con. So you get Wonder Man, Vision Quest, Daredevil Born Again, X-Men 97, and Spider-Man Return. Spider-Man Return. Spider-Man the movie doesn't come out till 27, right? So I guess they're talking about a cartoon. Anyway, Marvel took over the Comic-Con 2025, unveiling a packed slate of live action and animated series coming to DP throughout 2026. Okay, look, I saw a trailer for Wonder Man, and it's basically a show about a struggling actor who wants to get this breakout role. He wants to play Wonder Man. That is not the Wonder Man story. Yes, he does get into acting and all that stuff, but that's not his story. Nowhere near that. And then they're going to bring back Ben Kingsley from his silly role from Iron Man and so forth. So it's mostly just jokes about Hollywood that better productions have done before. And but the clincher here is he actually gets superpowers. Oh yeah. So boy, it's gonna be hilarious in, I don't know, 8 episodes or something like that. But get ready for Wonder Man, January 27th, 2026. The better role he had was Black Manta in Aquaman. But that's over. Gee, if only they had some iconic black superhero character for him to take over so he wouldn't have to be a cheap race swap, you know? If only they had an opening, you know? Sadly, due to tragedy, they did, but I don't know. For some reason, a very capable black man who could play this iconic black superhero, and they're not going to give it to him. No, he's got to take a white character's hand-me-down. That's great. Excellent. Hey, who's this guy? Well, that's Paul Bettany, who married Jennifer Connelly, didn't he? Yeah. Wow. Oh, what a lucky man. So, of all of this, yeah, maybe Vision Quest, but third time will be the charm. So this is their trilogy. See, it began with WandaVision, which was intriguing, but then it all fell to crap, only to discover that this was because Feige, who was so proud of himself for sabotaging it, suddenly realized, oh no, Doctor Strange is a white man. We can't have him in there. So took him out, even though the Doctor Strange sequel was heavily dependent on this stupid show. So he took that out, kept that element still there. It made no sense. And then WandaVision's like, without the Doctor Strange elements, we don't really have a way to end this story. So it just pooped its bed. God. Holy crap, what a disaster. And a damn shame because, yeah, it started off kind of cool. Yeah. Then you get Agatha All Along, which was stupid. And I ended up just feeling sorry for it. Yeah. So finally, the White Vision, which was left off from WandaVision, what's he up to? Well, I guess you'll find out. So James Spader comes back as Ultron, and to save money, he's actually going to be there. So suddenly Ultron looks like a human being. He'll look like, James Spader. James Darcy is Jarvis, whatever. That you get your cast, and Terry Matalas from Star Trek Picard. He did the season 3. I know it got high praise. I was not all that impressed with it. The only thing you can say, well, it was better than the first 2 seasons. Uh-huh. Yeah. But out of the 3 of them, so maybe this will be the same thing. Vision Quest will be the best of these 3. And certainly by comparison, I mean, by accident, it might actually be better than those 2. Will it be good overall? I doubt it, but So Bethany explained White Vision's journey is about trying to understand who he was and reconnect with those memories. but with lasers. Huh. Okay. So he's just going to tell his story all over again in a show. So Daredevil Born Again. Well, will season 2 work out? I don't know. Season 1 was pretty bad. They had to hurry up and scrap it all and try to fix it. I don't think they did. There was just too much stupid in there. But they're bringing back, what's her name here? Kristen Ritter from, the Jessica Jones show that she did on Netflix. All that. Really, the Daredevil show was the best out of that batch. And that was about it. But, can it go somewhere? Yeah, maybe. But they're already going to do a season 3. So I don't know. But basically, the ending was really stupid. Kingpin took over New York City. And as if it's separate from the United States now, that's not really possible. So I think it's just, but you know who he'll really be representative of, and who Daredevil and his resistance forces will be representative. Can you do the math on that one? So yeah, that I don't think that'll work out so great, but you never know. You never know. X-Men 97, one of the few things that turned out pretty good. It was odd because it said, yeah, this looks and sounds like that old cartoon. Well, the original showrunner, they booted him out of there because, well, he just wouldn't get along with the woke, despite being a black gay man who, yes, put out naked pictures of himself on his OnlyFans. I didn't need to know that, but that is a separate matter, I would think. But everything he said about this and all that sounds true. So now it's someone else. So you can imagine how bad it's going to be for its second season. And all this piece of crap, I have no interest in that whatsoever. So, with what happened to the original showrunner, dim hope for X-Men 97. Daredevil, considering how season 1 was set it up, doesn't look good. Vision Quest, maybe third time's the charm, maybe. So I guess Vision Quest is the winner here for potential. Poor Wonder Man, I don't know. So there you go. You're all caught up for Marvel. Aren't you excited? I know you can't wait. You're just lining up for your favorite Marvel shows. Oh, you don't really have one yet. Yeah, no one does. But hey, tomorrow's another day. All right. And then last and certainly least, poor Doctor Who. Poor Doctor Who. I needed a little sippy poo. Here we go. Still crying. Doctor Who writer declares the show as dead as we've ever seen it. I don't think he would really cry over that because I don't think he really gives a crap. Anyway, Robert Sherman, a former writer for Doctor Who, has weighed in on the troubled state of the long-running sci-fi series. And he didn't hold back. Via the official Doctor Who magazine, Sherman said bluntly, the show is probably as dead as we've ever known it. He likened the current state of the series to the period following its cancellation in 1989, when spin-off books and comics kept the 7th and 8th Doctors, Sylvester McCoy and Paul McGann, alive in expanded media. Sherman argued that even during the 90s hiatus, yeah, I guess it was, I don't know, fans still had a current Doctor. But today, he says the franchise has no clear direction or central figure, making any new content feel inherently backward-looking. Now, everything that is ever going to be produced in Doctor Who terms is going to feel retrogressive. Sherman said, at least with the new adventures and then the BBC books, you thought, it's the current Dr. McCoy or McCann. Sherman, is it Sherman or Shearman? I don't know. Believes the series finale, The Reality War, effectively paused the show in an unresolved state. Showrunner Russell T Davies' decision to insert a surprise regeneration and cameo appearance by Billy Piper as Rose Tyler has only added confusion to the series' continuity. No one's going to start writing Doctor Who books with a Billy Piper doctor because no one knows what that means. He called the final moments of the Reality War a full stop, contrasting it with previous hiatuses that still left the Doctor open for future stories. In a funny way, the closing moments of the Reality War seemed to put a full stop on things. We didn't have that before. Sherman's comments come amid swirling rumors that DP has pulled financial support for future seasons of Doctor Who. With Davies potentially on the way out, he's been out for, and the next Doctor unclear. The show's fate is more uncertain than ever, even if the BBC keeps the brand alive in some capacity. Sherman suggested it may never again feel like a living, breathing show. Well, if they bring it back, it will. And if they get somebody who gives a damn and knows what they're doing about it, then yeah, you probably could. But is that likely? No, it's too expensive. And they can't find anybody to take this on after severe damage done to it. Here, narratively speaking, you got to undo everything Russell T Davies did. Then you got to undo The Timeless Child. You basically just, hey, let's just forget Chibnall and Russell T Davies run altogether. That's what you got to do. It ultimately, it would have been better if they just didn't do a regeneration scene at all and the guy goes off. But narratively, even within the context of what Russell T Davies did, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is not the Doctor. He's a clone of the Doctor. The real Doctor is sitting on Donna Noble's couch watching TV in his retirement. As for the Billy Piper thing, he thought, oh boy, it would generate so much excitement that there would be demand for the show to continue. No. So, but the idea that they would do something like that and say, oh yeah, all this doesn't count. None of those guys have it in them to eat the crow and do this, to realize, yeah, I was wrong. I screwed up. And, it's not even Ncuti's fault. He was hired to play the part. You threw him in there. He did what you told him to. This is all Russell T Davies' fault. To follow the disaster of Chibnall's era. And then he comes in, well, hold my beer. I can do worse. You're handed the keys to the kingdom of a property. You're supposed to have some amount of care with it. It's not your own personal, original project, artwork, what have you. But that just doesn't occur to anyone anymore. And you just damage the brand overall, possibly permanently. So it's a shame. The only possible good news about Doctor Who lately is there's rumors they've found one of the lost episodes. Possibly more. Man, that would be cool if it was the final chapter of the 10th planet. So you get William Hartnell's regeneration scene into Troughton, completely, not the ones you have, in that full episode. But I don't know. Hopefully it's not just another copy of something that's already been found, but it is intriguing. And maybe that's something cool to look forward to. But beyond that, things look really, really, really bad for Doctor Who. And that's unfortunate. Yep. That's sad. Okay. All right, there we go. That's all I had. I did my little test run of just doing it without OBS. It seems to have worked. Nobody watched it, but, except you, A. Thompson. Thank God A. Thompson's here. A. Thompson says there was a Predator cartoon, not that bad. Yeah, I seem to remember something like that. A. Thompson, Doug, do you think you were on the karmic blacklist? Yes. I was watching Pat's show earlier in the night, and he played a clip of him saying that he's got to ban everybody who's a friend of Pat Dixon. Well, guess what I am? I'm a friend of Pat Dixon. It's just as well. After that meltdown, weird, creepy crap he did with Tass, I was done with the guy. That's enough. And he just lies all the time. And he's not even good at that. I mean, it's a strange thing to behold with his freaking out. And it is funny, when he's yelling at somebody. But I don't have any interest in that. It does inspire a lot of funny cartoons, though. I will admit that. That's true. So at least I got something out of the deal. But whatever. That's that. A. Thompson, I watched it. Oh, the Predator cartoon. Well, I assume so. You said it was good. So, or not that bad. Yeah. A Predator cartoon. Boy, after sitting through that movie, you know how bloody and gory it was? Saturday morning, you get Predator gutting people. I assume it didn't go quite that way. A. says, I am a fan of Doug only. Well, now that's creeping me out. You got to have something else out there. Come on. Let me see. Let's see how this goes. Oh, wait. I got to switch over to my super tip layer just to see.
I'll learn you how to Gus. Will you swink me tilke wise? Magnamater. Atis. Die had gredes het ouden. Agus bas du nach ort. Donis is dollas ort. Agus litsa.
That is what they say I said when they found me after 3 hours, crouching in the blackness over the half-eaten body of Sipet Norris with my own cat tearing at my throat. Cthulhu Efstan, fuckers!
No. Well, the scar doesn't show. So anyway, okay, that works. See, I could do it like that. A. Thompson, Predator cartoon was on DP. Well, it probably still is, huh? I mean, they own all that crap now, which doesn't bode well for Predator. Well, I don't know. Maybe they can do a good job on Predator Badlands. At least it's an interesting new angle on the story. So it might be good. I don't know. Man, that Alien Earth thing. Oof. P.U. So, and it's sad because it didn't have to be that way. It actually had some good qualities to it. Some interesting things. I was intrigued. And then they fooled me again. That's going to be hard to get over. Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe they'll get a season 2. They probably will, but in my opinion, they shouldn't. Whatevs. That's the deal. I'm done. This has been Nailsin Ratings Live. Time permitting, I'll cut this up and make individual videos out of them, but I probably won't. Here lately, I just don't have the time. In fact, I got to go take care of some business right now. I've been wasting time sitting here. Now I got to pay the price because I got to go do stuff. And I've been smashing my ass in this chair. It's going to hurt to put it to use walking. But somehow I will persevere. So see you next time. Thanks for watching, and we'll do it again soon.
Hollywood could, to Billy wish they would. There's no debating. All that's left is the Nailsin rating. The first feast on the corpse of the beast. Only after the feel of the vulture.